What is going on, everybody? It's Celso Oliveira, section 128. We're back on a Thursday. We had a game yesterday, so of course, we're going to be breaking it down today. I'm here with Erik as usual. Another loss to break it down, unfortunately, Erik, and we officially have our first slump of the season. And I go directly to you. We tried to have a show yesterday to test more than anything X's capabilities. And again, I don't want to be repetitive or allow you to go over there. I want you to go over here and talk to me, Erik, about what you saw yesterday. What is going on with this team that essentially we cannot get off the bus, and it seems like we need about 60 minutes of ball in order to basically do anything in a game? Go.
It looks like everything that could go wrong is going wrong right now. It looks like the players aren't mentally focused. They're not physically prepared, and the coach isn't making them tactically ready. There's lots of reasons for this. Obviously, the schedule congestion is one that's given. We've beaten that dead horse. I think there's some truth to it. I also think it could have been managed better. But that's always hindsight 2020. So this team is just really bad right now, and I think we are probably going to continue to be bad. It's hard to not see a bloodbath in Nashville, who is in pretty good form and is at the same amount of congestion as we have. The one team in MLS that has. And then we're going to get a full week to prepare for Seattle before we head to the break, and that'll be that.
I know, man, and that means we're going to be on break too. If we're a podcaster, we've been putting out shows, a lot of these shows in the first part of the season, so we're feeling it too. But of course, we don't get paid to do this. These guys are paid heavily for it, and we did see some rotation in this lineup that gave me some hope that the team was not going to be so dead. Guys like Raposo, and even I know Tyler Boyd, that we found out makes a buckload of money, and now we know why he's been contributing, or at least being expected to start for us. So what do you think of the starting lineup for Marc Dos Santos going to St. Louis, a team that we talked about being super fragile, had only won one game at home, right, and one game away?
I mean, the lineup was pretty close that you could consider to be like our best 11 again. I feel like if this was a Champions League game, if we hadn't gotten embarrassingly knocked out of it, I think this lineup wouldn't be too far off from what we were going with at the end of the day. I would say maybe we'd have Martinez and Tyler Boyd, but they put Martinez in that second leg. So, he's just, some of the personnel things I just don't get. Tillman and Delgado in again. Like, okay, I'm totally overseeing these guys play right now. Segura
There's a lot of depth there, and Eustachio, which is the odd man out in the midfield, didn't get to play this game because, he stunk last game. So, here we go, and we make some rotation, make some changes in there. But, I think to your point, I think what you want to see is guys like Jude Terry, guys that we haven't seen at all this season. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I don't understand the point of playing Eustachio at this point anymore. His loan is going to go until the end of the Seattle game, which is a week from this weekend, and we're probably not going to see him anymore. And that's that, unless they decide they want to exercise the option, which, from what I understand, is a pretty expensive loan.
He's our James Rodriguez, essentially,
which doesn't make sense to me. Like, if they do exercise the purchase option on this guy, I'm going to kind of just be like, what the fuck are we doing? Because for that amount of money, like, I think we could get a player that's better and healthier. And, and I feel like he was brought in for CCC, and that's kind of it. I've been saying that. So I just don't see him on this roster after
But here's the thing, Erik. In the beginning, when he was not, injured and was not coming back from an injury, and he did not have this like timeline against him, he was actually very good. So if you thought that you could make him healthy and maybe you could work something out, extend his loan maybe up until the end of the season, I'll be down for that. I think there's continuity here that LAFC lacks, that, not allowing him to come back, a guy that was really pivotal for us in the beginning of the season. Obviously, it's still not 100%. To crucify him, I think it's hard. And if you think about the alternative, what is the alternative, Erik? What is the alternative? Is it going to get another guy like Jailson? We tried that. That didn't work out. or play one of the youths. And I love saying that word. But think about who do we have out there on LAFC 2 that you trust to play the sixth position for us at this minute, right? We're extremely thin on the midfield, which was my point when the salaries came out. And we can talk a little bit about the salaries in the context of what did you think, right? Let's kind of deviate a little bit from the game already. And what did you think of the salaries coming out and the distribution of the roster, right? Thinking that there may be some very deep changes that JT is going to have to do during this window.
I mean, there was a lot there. I feel like I can't let a lot of that kind of slide and go by. One thing you talked about was continuity of the roster and keeping him. And I'll argue that continuity was the theme of the roster over last window in the winter, and that we were going continuity with the squad trying to push to win the CCC. It obviously didn't work. So looking at a continuity going forward, I'm like, why do we want to continue something that hasn't worked, that didn't work, that shows no evidence that it will work? So I think I think this is, I agree. I saw a tweet that it's kind of a 60-40 problem. I think this is probably 60% MDS, but it's 40% JT as well. The
problem is our DPs don't produce, man. Like yesterday, once again, you had both of our DPs, which basically take all of our payroll, not producing and not basically doing anything during the game. Guys that you expect to basically have some sort of contribution every single time, no matter where, bro. And you know that, like, if those DPs don't produce, we're going to have a problem. So, like, whose fault it is that the two DPs that we have, which are quality players, are not really finding themselves? Are they in need of a break, right? Is Sonny holding back because of the World Cup, much like Bale did before the World Cup? So there's some plot lines there that I'm still confused about. And what do you think is preventing these two unbelievable guys from being themselves?
Scoring the first goal and playing with a lead. Like, these guys thrive in transition ball and counterattack. And when we give up that first goal and we play a team that just sits back, we have nobody's able to unlock that, that deep block at all. You know, we've relied on some midfielders taking outside the box shots that have gone in. But again, like this game, Delgado and Tillman aren't going to be those guys. Celso and Erik can be that guy. Eustachio can be that guy. But again, as I don't want to beat this again, I think Eustachio, since he's probably going to be done with this team by next week, I don't see why we want to put him out there instead of giving somebody on the outside of the roster a shot, because I don't think he's gonna be the difference between a win and a loss in either of these games. You know, I think Jude Terry is not the difference between a win and a loss at these games. Again, I think Nashville is this team just needs to get to the break at this point. Like, they just need a break, and they need to regroup.
Right. I know. And we all need a break. Mark Dos Santos feeling like, look, he in this post game, he's like, it's a bad moment. We realize it. We're not playing well. And what's interesting now, like for the second game in a row, the possession game has changed for us, and we're actually retaining the ball more, but it hasn't translated into chances for us, quality chances. And if you see the stats here, you see that, yes, we dominated this game. They've had 2 shots on goal, scored both, right? So, Lloris, what a game. But, again, I can't blame him directly. They just had 2 quality shots on goal and put them on, right? Whereas LAFC tried to shoot 17 times and only shot on goal 4 times. So there's clearly some problems there with that last pass, with the transition, with finding guys open, with the guy that can dribble and find their own shot or open someone up. That's not happening for us. And that tells me that we need a guy that can fix something, can basically open up lanes for other guys. So where would you, as JT, see the greatest need for this team, right? Since, we have Eustachio on the way out. We have some guys coming back. Aaron Long is back, but ever since he's back, we haven't been the same as a defensive unit. What are you looking at here? And, some of the guys that, these are the first names that have to go in order for us to make a change, like saying a substantial change. We can no longer like try continuity. It's not working.
No, I look at these numbers you have up here, and those are Dolo ball numbers when we lose a game. And I think this tells me, number one, MDS wants to play possession. Number two, we do not have players capable of playing and winning a game by using possession. And I was thinking a bit about this today, Bob Bradley's old offense. And one of the things with that, we were kind of and I think where you're going with this is we were having conversation about a Chicho Arango prototype and how much of a difference maker a player like Chicho Arango made for the team. He was like a 9/10 hybrid. He could get in there, he could mix it up, he could find those little spaces, and he could execute on them. But he also had that creativity and had his head up. You know, he kind of play as a 9 and a 10. And I think this is kind of what we need again. And I was thinking also with the Bob Bradley setup is he would move the ball forward through his fullbacks, playing right on the touchline, whether it was a Cheeky Palacios or whether it was a Stephen Betashore or whoever. The defense would get the ball and they would get to them right on the sidelines, a third of the way up the field for them to push the ball forward up on the sidelines. And then you had a Diamande or you had a Chicho Arango to create havoc in the box and start to create like wrinkles and throw the defense off balance. And we're completely missing that. The defense against us does not look uncomfortable at all. So we need to shake that up. And I think this starts with the midfield and a number 9. We need somebody who can create chaos back there. And we need midfielders who can hold the ball and make those good progressive passes, something that Delgado and Tillman do not do.
Yeah, I would ship Delgado right away. And like you asked me to come up with some, guys that are acting in Brazil right now. They're 24, 25, underrated dudes that we can plug and play here. And honestly, I can't think of anybody just because of the taxing change there is coming from a Brasileirão league in the middle of the season after a break in basically catching up to a Mark Dos Santos system with a bunch of new players and Song Wei-Ming and Bonga being the reference points. Like, it's really hard to find that guy out there. I don't know who that would be, Eric. I actually would have a really hard time finding someone that I thought
we'll keep digging.
We'll keep digging. And this guy, to me, is very interesting because he's already in the league. Gabriel Pirani. He's at DC. The DC guys already told him, look, we don't like Gabriel. We don't really want him and his services right now. He's a great 10. He plays in the middle of the box. He's got quality dribble. And I see him, and I've talked to him before. The guy's intelligent, and he needs a change of scenery. DC can be, I would say, cumbersome, right? If you've been there for several seasons, and now the head coach doesn't like him. And again, if I'm JT, I'm starting to think maybe within the league, like, what can I do to maybe assess some of these players that we have in a positive manner, right? And get some guys back that fit Mark Dos Santos' system without having to go to the middle of Europe, get a guy on 6 months loan like we've done with some of these guys. And then at the end of the year, they don't have anything vested. And they're like, fuck it. I'm not going to play the last month. I'm not going to be here. They already told me that. So I think there's a little bit of a motivation issue with these short-term loans that we've done. Like Eustáquio, look at him. I think he's the latest case. So maybe bring a guy like here that's already been in the league. It's already gone through the cultural issues that we've had, right? And then maybe can help us sort of overcome some of these concerns that we have. Because honestly, Eric, the biggest thing that I see out of this is that I don't think we're a broken team, right? And if you look at Inter Miami season, they've had their issues, and now they're kind of going back. So, this is where coaching matters. You can say anything what you want to say about Dola, just like I said last show, and I'll go to you. Dola would fix slumps. After a while, the team would start responding. So where do you think we go from here? Mark Dos Santos was apologetic and basically said, look, we're not looking good at all. And I realized that. So do you think this team's going to go back, right, and perform the way that it was in the beginning of the season?
I think there's a better chance of it happening after the break. As much as I'm pretty doom and gloom on Nashville because it's a very short turnaround, and obviously there's a lot of things this team needs to work out on the practice ground. But after Nashville, they will have a full week before they play Seattle. And so I'll be really looking to see how they come out on that Seattle game. I think their trajectory is going to continue.
It's a home game for us.
It'll
be kind of like the home farewell. Let's make sure we leave a good taste in the fans' mouth. And as I said to you, 6 out of 9 would not be bad in this last stretch. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, the thing is that they're going to have a full week to practice and prepare for Seattle for that game. I think if that Seattle game is also a blowout, then I just think there's going to be huge problems with this. And I think that this current roster has kind of puttered out for what they can do. I don't know if it's necessarily broken as much as it seems like it's kind of figured out. And it looks very one-dimensional at this point. And it's hard to get a good squad that's not one-dimensional in MLS with the roster restrictions. This is true. But again, like, they're kind of figured out. it's going to be a slog the second half of the season unless we really get some guys who will change that. I am excited to see hopefully Amin Boudry come back, because I thought he was a very exciting player and he had a very different
some passing for us too. Yes.
And I kind of talked about before, I think Boudry is one that looks like he's a little different change of pace from what we have in the midfield. So that's a good one. And then, we'll see what happens with some other guys. Jude Terry, obviously, I want to see him in there also.
Yeah, I don't know, because see, look, Jude's being asked to play on the twos as well, right? So if he's putting 90 minutes in the twos, his gas and his tank for ones is going to be limited, right? So he played and scored a goal against the Monarchs, right?
The twos
so
because
he can be available.
Yeah,
he's playing. So it's all one thing against the other.
The one's the priority. If they wanted him to play the ones, he wouldn't play for the twos.
Well, that shows you that he's not a priority for the ones yet, is what I'm kind of trying to tell you, right? He's clearly not a priority for the ones. If he's putting 90 or, a good shift on the twos and actually showing up, right? He's our Kevon Sullivan, right? Kevon Sullivan basically did not play very much for the Union last season, and now he's featured this season. So it looks almost the same trajectory as Kevon, right? And I have no doubt in my mind
16,
he's going to be.
Isn't he?
Yeah, he's much younger than
Jude.
Yes,
they didn't play him when he was 15. They're playing him when he's 16,
built like a 19-year-old. That motherfucker's huge, bro. We got to talk about Nashville and some stats about them, home and away. I love this website because it gives you kind of really good understanding of how this team plays away versus home. And first off, LAFC, bad news for you. You didn't like the schedule. You're not going to like it for next two games, because you have a team in Nashville that at home has not lost yet. One of the very few teams that has not conceded a loss at home. And here you go, fragile LAFC having to be the one to do that for the first time. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but we got our work cut out for us just from the scheduling standpoint. And Seattle only lost once away, one of the better teams away, the 5th out of 30 Major League Soccers. And that's who we're going to face at home before we go on the break. But let's talk about Nashville, a very organized team, a team that got as close to going to the finals as us and basically fell short of it, just like we did. We were supposed to have a guest. The guest canceled an hour before. It happens. So let's talk about Nashville and what do you think they present in terms of danger? And I found that they had this. All I'll say, they had an excellent off season. They brought the fella from San Jose, which I always thought we could have gone after, and they offloaded some guys. Espinoza, and they offloaded some guys which we picked up. One of them being Tyler Boyd, which I call him the Nashville reject, right? He got cut by them. So let's talk about Nashville and your first kind of like impressions for this weekend game and the uphill battle that LAFC has in beating these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville's a pretty complete team. I believe a familiar tune for LAFC fans. Andy Nahar got injured last game, so he's probably going to be out for a while. And this is all too familiar for us because basically was injured the entire time.
I can't believe he's still playing in this league, but yeah, he's
actually for Nashville. He's put in a good, probably
I know,
good little while and been one of the better right backs or one of the top right backs in the league. And that's always been his thing. He's just very injury prone and it happens, but. Okay. Pretty complete team, even with Sam Surridge being injured and out, they're still just roll along. Espinoza, we know him too well from San Jose. I mean, that guy, he can put a team on his back and carry it. But with Nashville, there's plenty of other guys he doesn't need to. Hani Mukhtar is still dangerous. Madrigal's playing great. Kasem, one of the new guys they picked up, he's also good. Then there's Acosta, solid. Baker
What's
White
crazy is that they just applied a 3-0 beatdown over New England, right? And New England is actually one of the better teams in the East, right?
Good team.
If you look at the last 7 games against the West, they haven't played any teams against the West. It's been really just the East, but they smashed everyone outside of Chicago, which they lost 1-0, right? But they're just rolling through the East like it's nothing else. So it's concerning to me. My opinion is that it could be one-sided if LAFC sort of loses track of this game. And based on what you think, are you concerned we're going to be embarrassed again?
Oh, I mean, well, you can't be embarrassed if you have no shame, right? And I think at this point, we don't really
well, we're embarrassed. We're fans. We're like, whoa, shit.
I mean, and I'll my prediction is going to be like 4-0 Nashville at this point anyways. So, yeah, sorry, I almost made you spit your beer out. But
I have another.
so it's like, it's going to take probably 7-0 for me to start feeling embarrassed about this one. I'm
7-1.
I'm numb to it right now.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to get to the break, and I any points are found points at this point. Like, this team needs to get their shit together, and it's not happening until the break.
Okay, Eric. All right. So we can talk about starting lineups, but you talk about the fact that you really think this is going to be a one-sided game, right? And if you're Mark Dos Santos and you're looking at your job security, you just can't get smashed, right? And I think that's when the Dolo ball was so, I would say, sometimes smart, because Dolo knew that if I keep this thing close and I keep these guys in the game, I always have a chance.
He'd play a 3-5-2.
Right. So I mean, that's what the thing. So tactically, before we go to starting lineups, tactically, given that we're not able to, get the shutouts like we were, and we're not able to get the slim wins anymore, like, what would you make tactically? What would be the kind of changes you would see tactically from the game that you saw Wednesday, or the weekend game even, which was really, really bad, in order to get some momentum back against this team and even have a chance?
I would just swallow my pride and I would play a 5-3-2 out there, and I would park the bus. Other teams park the bus on us. It's time for us to park the bus, because that's that. I would do this for Nashville, take a week of practice with Seattle, and then figure out what you're going to do. But yeah, for this one, 3 in the back or 5 in the back. I'd go long, Tafari, long.
Well, three in the back means 3 center backs. However the wing backs are going to play, it's up to the coach.
Yeah, long Tafari Porteous. And
so
then
Segura sits.
Well, no, then
because
Segura,
that's the thing. Porteous sat last game against Segura, and now this rotation, which I was happy about, is not working. No matter who you put there, it seems like the odd man out should have been out there.
I'd put Segura out there instead of Artem, because again, we're just defending on this game. Maybe bring in Artem second half if we want to do something else. And then and that's it. And just keep 4 guys in the back and just block that shit up.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to lineups then, which kind of makes sense to do it since you've started. You would start with Lloris. So we'll do this one together since it seems like it's going to be very similar. Center backs, you said Eddie Segura, Ryan Porteous, and Aaron Long. I like that. Tafari's been kind of the steady man in, right? So maybe he's the one that sits this game. And at the same time, he's kind of been our better dude out of these 3. So it's Tafari. I know, it's crazy. So I kind of want to give him a chance and continue to rotate Long out, since he doesn't look his best. And as Ivan, the creator, the great Ivan, and his takes have brought it up to me. Great statistic. 7 games since Aaron Long's been back. We have not looked very good, and we have not won a lot of games since Aaron Long's been back.
Yeah, we're not even bringing Kenny Nielsen along with us.
Right. So there's a guy that Kenny Nielsen that's already like, oh shit, there goes my minutes, and I did my part. Right.
If we're playing 3 center backs, we don't even have a 4th center back.
Well, that would be Kenny.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't on the bench for Nashville.
Right, because we had Porteous, right? So you always have this kind of odd man out situation. So if I'm JT, I'm looking at this, and then by the way, these guys are kind of cheap, as we saw it. Their entire salary core of our defense doesn't pay for the Nibelunga salary, right? And I know he's a DP, but can we get quality? Can we get a quality guy in our defense? Come on, man. Come on. No.
You want a designated player on the back line?
No. Our right back, what's his name? The guy that ended up in Houston. No, he was hard. He was hurt a lot, but he was making like 800-900, right? So there were teams that there's ways to look. You can't complain that our fullbacks don't do anything when you're not spending any money in this position. So if there's one thing I saw from the salaries was what the fuck, man? We're spending all of our money on our wingers, and we hope it works out, right? We hope it works out with some guys that we find for value. And I don't believe in that kind of roster composition. It's not working anymore. Not in Major League Soccer 2026. I don't believe it works out. Some people no Boyd to start, Sonboy and Martinez to start. I don't understand why we're not starting Martinez every freaking game. It's insane at this point. It's almost like embarrassing that we don't realize these are our best three. These guys have to start because if Martinez scores the first goal, bro, like we're in the freaking lead, and like the game changes. The first team to score usually wins the game. It's just the way stats go. It's a good comment.
Yeah,
Raposo.
No, look,
Raposo looks
the
lost.
Thing is, number one, sure. So here's the Raposo, and you got to understand this is a salary cap league. Raposo makes $220,000 a year. He's a very cheap player. He makes backup money. He is a backup player. He's not a starter. He's there because Palencia got injured, who I think we need to upgrade from as well. But that's a whole different story that we'll probably get into next week. Like after the Seattle show, I want to talk about roster changes that I would make to this team immediately.
That'll be our farewell show for again what it is the first part of the season. Essentially the season will end after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree with Ivan. I mean, I know he's just here to just throw gasoline in the fire because that's what he does. But he feels that this roster is worse than when we had, I don't know, like right after 2020 when
2021 roster was the worst.
I think 2021 was the worst. I agree with you, but this one, it's not looking good. But hey, we're still the 6th best team at home, the 8th best team away. We're going through a slump. Inter Miami has gone through a slump. Teams go through a slump all the time. But again, as I said, how do you get out of the slump? How do you get out of the slump?
Hey, let me do a quick. Ivan, this is for you because Ivan, the ultimate LAFC troll. If he's going to troll our show like this, I see. All right, let's do it. 2021 LFC in goal: Jamal Blackman, Pablo Cistiega, Tomas Romero. Back line: Jordan Harvey, Mohamed Traore, Eddie Segura, Mamadou Fall Palacios, Eric Duenas, Alvaro Quezada, Ibiaga.
Don't know him.
Blackman, Tony Leon, Marco Farfan, Kim Moon Huang, Murillo, Blessing, Janela, Cifuentes, Bryce Duke, Atuesta, Raheem Edwards, Diego Rossi, Carlos Vela, Musovski, Brian Rodriguez, Christian Torres, Apoku, Jennings, Arango, and Mishi Ngalina. That's the worst roster.
Yeah, that wasn't good. I think Ivan has a point here because I do see some things that I had not seen under Dolo. Dolo's very pragmatic, Ivan. I do believe that Dolo was the kind of guy that did not want to lose by a lot of goals because he did not want to make it look really bad. But these guys are operating under different premises. Mark Dos Santos has 2 brand new assistants, and I would look very closely at those hires and make changes there. Those guys are not doing the job, in my opinion. There's this guy named Ante Razov out there. He's unemployed. I would give him a call. Just because.
Yeah.
I think once Ante walked, our offense lost a lot.
A lot of hardness.
And I also believe that we did not try our best to retain him any way that we could. I don't believe this was like a piss contest, and winner takes all kind of situation. And if it was, it doesn't look like we did the right choice in bringing MDS as the head coach, if that meant losing Ante, because it looks like Ante meant a lot for this team and the offensive vibe and the jive that those guys had last year. It's gone. Our DPs don't know what they're doing, dude. So, all right. Prediction, you already kind of give it away.
But, I will say this with MDS, I feel for the guy. I do think that this roster isn't serving him well, but he deserves some blame for how he's handled the roster as well. But I do think that I would like to see him have a little bit of a chance after this window. And if it doesn't work out in the first 5 or 6 games, like you got to move on. But I would like to see him have a little bit of a turnover, players that are more in the style of what he wants to do, which I think is different than what we have right now, and kind of see where that goes. But, I'm not going to try to talk anybody out of it that wants him gone now either.
Well, I think JT has some decision making to do, and if he decides to part ways with Mark, it would send a very strong signal. But I think there's other things you can do. You can look at the coaching staff and make changes without sacking your head coach and seeing, hey, some of these guys that we brought in are not working and they're not making our offensive players produce, So, where is the issue and how do we fix it is what JT should be looking at. So sacking your coach, that's what we do it in Brazil. São Paulo just sacked our coach once again after we got eliminated from the Copa do Brasil. And again, now we don't have any coach, and we also have to pay this guy. So we have to pay Mark because he signed a contract with you. So, and he's doing the job, right? So there's some ramifications there on the money side too, bro. Like, you got to pay this dude. You sign a contract. But hey, drinks Botanas Bullets. I love Bullets. And hey guys, first time viewer, long time ex shit talker. I follow both. The Joga Bonito bros. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
I think that's DJ Bullet from the tailgates. He always had that tent and he would always have the drinks for us. You remember?
Yeah. And
I don't know. I think that's who it is, though.
Wilfred Nancy, of course, comes to mind as being a massive name for our club. And, he's out there. He's available. The thing is, I don't know anyone is going to make a move for this guy mid-season, right? So he's going to be available likely through the end of the year. And you could probably roll the dice, try to finish your season, right? And give Mark the benefit of the doubt that you got screwed with the season and, CCL went sideways. I'm going to try to fix the roster. Steve Cherundolo got that. Except that he was coasting on his way. He was coasting on his way to 2 trophies, right? So it's hard. It's hard to make a comparison there as well.
Yeah. I think one thing is when the World Cup finishes, there's going to be a lot of coaches that become available as, a lot of coaches just go through World Cup cycles and they're going to be done after this. So there should be a lot of pretty decent coaches out there that are looking for work, So regardless, I don't think it makes any sense to move on from him until at least after the World Cup. And like I said, I'd like to see him maybe have 4 or 5 games with a couple new guys on the team and see if he can kind of put it back together. I would like to see him get another chance. And again, I might be in the minority on this. And, I was an early Bob out guy and I was a pretty early Dolo out guy as well. But, MDS, I still have a little soft spot in my heart. He's not dead to me yet. So, I want to see him succeed. And, but we'll see what happens. I don't think it's prudent to move on until after the World Cup because as I said.
Hey, chat, if you guys are hearing, and we're going to end with this, we're pretty much ending, but chat, if you have an opinion on this, if you feel that we would be in a better position if Steve Cherundolo was still the head coach, please let me know. Please put the comment out there because I want to know. I want to know because I wonder that. And hey, if Steve was still the coach and he decided not to step out of the role, and maybe he was told to step out of the role too. We don't know. We don't know how those conversations went. But do you feel that? Do you feel that they would have been better? And like Erik thinks, no, hell no, absolutely not. He thinks it would have been even a worse situation. I think we would not be losing by 4 at home. Like I actually don't think San Jose Earthquakes would have found a way to score 4 goals on us, right? Because you look at his tenure 3 years in, he never allowed that to happen except Wilfred Nancy once in his last year.
We would have lost by 1 or 2 instead of 4.
Right. So does that matter, right? Because Ivan's like, man, he's like, the matter is now how much we're going to lose by, right? So who gives a shit, right? We're trying things. It's not working. So if that's why we're losing by this big a margin, maybe it's worth it. We're going to get healthier. We're going to get younger. And again, I need to put a prediction out there. I also predict the loss. This Nashville team is stacked. We do not look like we can do anything against them. And I also believe it's going to get ugly. I'm calling it a 3-1 loss. Not as ugly as a 4-0, but still a statement loss. And a statement win for Nashville, just solidifying the campaign they've had, the good coaching work that BJ Callen has done there over 2 seasons. And it was immediate, the change that you saw when BJ took over the latest coach. The latest coach was okay, but this guy put this team and said, you know what, this is what we need to win. And now they're winning, and they go against Inter Miami, and they don't really give a shit who they're going up against. We're still on that ceiling where we can't get over the hump. We cannot get over the hump. So 3-1 loss.
BJ was a great hire. Absolutely great hire.
A great hire. Timing is everything with coaching, man. We have a comment. Will I be able to win the MLS Cup? And I think what you meant by that is, will LAFC and your boy Sonny, will be able to win this MLS Cup? That's the question that we don't know yet. So if you look at Las Vegas and how they feel about us, they feel like we have the second best chance of winning, and very closely, Vancouver is the team to beat in the West. So you gotta win the West first, and then maybe you can go play the MLS Cup. Probably gonna be away already since like the East is like taking off.
Also,
right?
what do you think? Are we able to win the MLS Cup?
What's that?
Are we? So what's your answer?
I have no good answer for that. I think we have a good chance of it. So if I had to put my money on that, I would still put my money on it, since LAFC's odds right now are not as good. And I think LAFC always has a chance because the roster will change. JT will find players for us. These things are guaranteed. And there will be a different team playing in 3 months. Guarantee you, it's been like that every season. What do you think?
For me, it's just going to come down how this mentality gets changed, because the one thing that I've seen consistent with finals, and this is before MDS when it was Dolo, we would always at some point, either in the semifinals or the finals, just decide to not show up for the game and just dial it in when the other team came out like they're playing a final. And when you're playing these big games, you have to up your intensity. And our guys would not up the intensity. The opponents would, and we would get taken behind the woodshed. And part of it, that's why I want to see some turnover in the roster. We've had some of the same guys here now for 3 or 4 years, and they just haven't been able to do it. I think we need to get a new group to see if they can. So if we make some bold moves, I think we can do it. If we don't, if we keep continuity, if we try to keep the same group but make little tiny tweaks around the edges, I don't see us getting over the hump. We'll make the playoffs, maybe 1 or 2 rounds, and we'll be out in the quarters of the semis.
So here's the thing about this comment. And I think this is what it comes down to. In the beginning, nobody had tape, right? You don't have tape on the team. You don't have tape on the players. You don't have tape on the coach. You don't have tape on the tendencies. And now suddenly you have 5 games of teams that were able to stop your team. And that is valuable, and preparation is everything. Tape matters. And when you don't have it in the beginning, it makes a difference. That's why new coaches succeed. First game with a new coach, I always bet on the team with a new coach because nobody knows they're going to play. You don't know where the key players are going to be. They're going to be in different positioning, and that matters. And I think that's why in the beginning, Mark Dos Santos was kicking ass. Oh my God, I want to get out of here, but there's so many cool comments, and like it's catching on fire, so I have to keep going through these. We became a cheap team. I don't know about that. We spent a lot of money with a second, almost I would say expensive roster in Major League Soccer. So I don't necessarily call ourselves cheap because we spend good money on players. And do you think we've become a cheap team? I think we're just not spending money wisely. It's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah. No, there's value propositions. And if any of you are NFL fans as well, you'll know that studying the salary caps is a whole game within the game, just like MLS. You need to get better out of your players than what you're paying for them. You know, if you have a player you're paying $300,000 a year and they put in 10 goals, that's a huge, huge benefit right there. If you have a guy that, is making $800,000 and is only playing 10 minutes every other game and not scoring any goals, that's a huge waste of money. The money you spend needs to produce for you on the field. So your expensive players need to produce more. Your cheap players don't have to produce that much. So
yeah, looking at you, Sonny.
Yeah, it's the value proposition. Sonny's a very expensive player, but he brings other things. He's a DP. Your DPs need to produce. Sonny is leading the league in assists. That's production for me.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd is spending a lot of money, and he's a player that is not contributing as much. But when you look at his stats, you see that he's kind of trending in the same direction that he's always been. So he's there to do other things for this coaching staff. And that's our show. Again, it's been great. A lot of comments at the end there. Thank you so much. Subscribe if you're a first-time listener. It really helps us to grow our subscription base. And appreciate Bullet and everybody else that came over. Yeah. Korean fans. I used to subtitle the show in Korean. If you feel like that's helpful, if you like to see that coming back, please let me know. It's a lot of work, but I can make it happen if you think it's helpful and you guys are consuming it. I have the process to do so. And we'll be back Monday. LAFC plays this game this Saturday, right? Is that a Saturday game or Sunday?
I believe that's Saturday. Sorry,
we got a Saturday game. Perfect. Yeah. So on Monday, regardless, we'll be here at 5:00 discussing the game, and then no game midweek. So this is really our last midweek show in probably a very long time. Given that once we're back from the break, we'll have El Tráfico, but everything happens in this. Oh no. Yeah, no, we have a game July 22nd, right after the El Tráfico. So more midweek shows coming your way in July. But until then, this is going to be it for us on Thursdays. Erik, thank you so much once again for doing this with us. Thank you, brother. Thank you. And anybody else is there have not done it before or until now, please do it. It helps us tremendously. All right. Here's our guys from Fugazi, guys. They are
and we'll see you guys next Monday. 5 p.m. next Monday. We'll be here. Even if the link comes out late, we'll be here 5 p.m. next Monday.
The link always comes out late, but we're always here no matter what.
Hopefully we'll have a Seattle guest as well who will preview.
That'd be great. We've had him before, we've had him before. I know a couple guys in Seattle as well, so maybe it's one of those we will do it together. All right, buddy. See you later, and see you, everybody. You guys see you on Monday. Oh my God, please don't be another beatdown, man. I'm starting to get tired.